Hello and welcome back to another episode of Raising Healthy Mothers. This week I am talking about the gut again, but not in a you need to eat this kind of fiber or you need to eat this probiotic kind of way. I'm going to go much deeper this time because I want to show how much your gut health touches every part of your well-being, from your immune system to your brain, your hormones, and even your skin. Now, this is actually part of the introductory lesson to my spring gut reset. I'm just kind of giving a really good overview of why I think starting with your gut is so important for good health. So if you're feeling exhausted, foggy, snappy, or like your skin's been dull and itchy and you're not actually thinking it's connected to your gut, look, this is the episode for you. I'm going to start off with a basic 101 on what our microbiota actually is. Then I'm diving into your gut and its role in hormones, brain health, and immune system. And I'm also going to do a quick side note on skin health because it's a really important indicator of what is going on inside you. And I'm going to end with the 5 questions that you need to ask about how your gut is actually doing. And then I'm going to talk a bit more about my spring gut reset, which is running from the 2nd of June until the 15th of June, 2025. If you're listening to this in another year, it won't be there. And it is now open for early bird bookings. And that's why I want to talk about the gut again this week. So what is our microbiota? We're not just human. We are a walking ecosystem. We have trillions of bacteria, viruses, and microbes living in and on our body, in our gut, on our skin, in our lungs, mouths, and even in our vaginas. And weirdly, scientists are even finding microbes in places that they never expected, like in the placenta, the brain, the eyes. These are the places that we previously thought were sterile, so they are everywhere. These microbes are mostly concentrated around areas that come into contact with the outside world, places like our skin, our digestive tract, and our respiratory tract as well. They play a really crucial role in keeping us well. They reinforce those boundaries. They make sure that the good bacteria will outcompete the bad bacteria, which can make us sick, and the good bacteria, the ones that make sure that we stay well. On the skin, they help to heal wounds. In the vagina, they keep yeast at bay. In the mouth, they help break down food and protect our teeth. No single part of our body is sterile. And the really fascinating thing is that microbes make up 2 kilograms of our body weight. So it's a huge proportion of us as a whole. And the bacteria living and on us set us on our lifelong course for health and well-being. So it's really important that we get things right. And ultimately, it actually matters how you were as a child and how you were born and how you were fed. And this is a really interesting quote from Jenna Makiyoki, who wrote a book about immunity. She says, "Our individual microbial fingerprint is the sum of our age, gender, medical history, geographical location, habits, and diet. It's shaped by physical activity, stress, sleep, and a myriad of other undiscovered factors." And that is why in the Spring Gut Reset, we talk about lots of these factors, not simply the food that you eat. It's so much more than that. So let's talk about hormones, because if you're in the thick of motherhood, chances are your hormones have been on a bit of a wild ride. There's a really interesting part of the gut microbiome called the estrobolome. It's the collection of bacteria that help process and regulate estrogen. And this matters a lot, especially as we head into our late 30s and 40s and we're starting to think about perimenopause. That is, maybe we've got some symptoms that we're thinking, well, is this perimenopause? Or is this motherhood? Or is this something else? It's the gut hormone axis that influences the production and the amount of estrogen that is circulating in our body. And it can have an impact on our weight, our libido, our mood. And it's quite interesting because a lot of the symptoms that we consider when it comes to perimenopause could be impacted by your gut. And the thing is, the estrogen that is circulating around our body also has an impact on the health of our bones, on our heart, our brain, and our vaginal health as well. So it's really important that we know what is going on with the estrogen in our body. In perimenopause, our gut microbiome can become disrupted by these fluctuating estrogen levels, and that can cause disruption to the composition of the bacteria in the estrobolome. And that can cause or worsen a lot of typical menopause symptoms like hot flushes, weight gain, brain fog, low energy, mood swings, loss of libido, poor sleep. All of those things that you typically think about when it comes to perimenopause could be worsened if your gut is not in a good shape. If you improve your gut health, you support a healthy estrobolome, and you improve the symptoms of perimenopause. And to get even more technical here, there are some microbes in the estrobolome that produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And this enzyme changes estrogen into their active form after it's been metabolized in the liver. And that's so that we can use them again. And this is a normal part of our body, right? Beta-glucuronidase produces active unbound estrogen that is capable of binding to estrogen receptors in the body and influences estrogen-dependent processes. All normal. However, estrogen needs to be just right for optimum health. It's a bit of a Goldilocks hormone. A healthy gut microbiome means that the estrobolome produces the right amount of beta-glucuronidase to maintain estrogen homeostasis. If there is any gut issues, any gut dysbiosis, beta-glucuronidase is altered and you end up with a deficiency or more commonly an excess of free estrogen circulating in the body. And with excess beta-glucuronidase, you get increased risk of weight gain, you get potentially issues later on with cardiovascular, brain, and metabolic issues. So there is a really close connection between your gut and your hormones here. And that is why it is a really important part of thinking about your health. It's not just about the digestive symptoms that you could be experiencing. So now onto your immune system, arguably your most important component for long-term health and well-being, right? Our immunity responds to, learns from, and adapts to our environment, which evolves from the moment that we are born, which I mentioned before as well. Environmental interactions conducted by the ecosystem of microbes that live on, in, and around us, around our body, in our environment, is what we call our microbiota. Balancing immunity means relying on getting good exposure to the germs around us, especially the good germs, and allowing them into the body to thrive. The gut has the biggest microbial load in the body. It sits at the core of our immune function, and 70% of our entire immune system resides in the gut. So when you next get a cold or catch a virus from somewhere, I bet you're not thinking, what's my gut doing? You're probably just thinking, how can I get rid of these symptoms? But if we can think gut, you can probably find that you have much better tolerance to catching everything that your child brings home. So the essential task of the gut immune system is to maintain a balance between immune reaction and tolerance. And the thing is, our sanitized modern life means we come into contact with certain microbes potentially later in life or even less often. And this kind of modern immune system development is hindered because we are not getting exposed early enough. And this is potentially what is leading to the increased rate of childhood allergies and autoimmunity, as well as potentially affecting our risk for heart disease and cancer later in life. So the roots of your health and immune system lie in how you're born and nourished during the first 5 years of life. And that is why it is so important to me that I work with mums in this early stage of motherhood, because if I can help mum, I know I can help the children. And if I can help the children develop a healthy gut, then I know I can set them up for a really healthy life forever. So it's really critical that immune education in those early years set the tone for the rest of your life of how well you're going to be. However, it's not all doom and gloom. That doesn't mean that you are set up for a life of ill health. If those first 5 years weren't optimal, or if you're thinking about your children thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, I wasn't able to do that. I know how you feel. It's probably fine because you can do stuff now. I just like to mention it because I think it's important to be aware of how critical it is. Looking after your gut now, even as a tired, frazzled mom, can help regulate your immune system and lower your risk of future issues and those of your children too. So feeding your microbiota well, looking after your gut barriers, fasting, taking sufficient breaks between meals, managing stress and sleeping well are all among the many, many factors that can affect immune health, and all of which we dive into in the Spring Gut Reset. So then onto gut and brain health. So your brain and your gut are in constant conversation. We call this a bidirectional communication. They're connected by the vagus nerve, and that sends these signals back and forth all day long. It's also known as the gut-brain axis, and it influences everything from digestion and metabolism to mood and mental health. In fact, your gut produces 95% of the body's serotonin. That's the happy hormone. It's really, really important. And it also produces GABA, which is a neurotransmitter, which is really important for regulating stress and anxiety. So when your gut is out of whack, you're more likely to feel low and anxious and snappy. No matter how many deep breaths you take, your gut is still going to be affecting you there. Stress also works in the other direction because it can damage your gut lining, change your microbiota, and reduce the number of good bacteria in your gut. That is really important to help you stay resilient and stay calm and stay kind of on top of things. So that's why looking after your gut is just as important for your brain health and your mental health as it is for digestion. Again, we're looking macro here. We're saying gut health isn't just about having constipation or bloating or gassiness or anything like that. It's so much more than that. And that is why the focus is on gut health from the very start when you look at nutrition. So, by the way, if you are nodding along and thinking, yes, this is me, I'm really noticing all these things, I go into this in a lot more depth in the Well-Fed Brain workshop that I ran earlier this year. So, I unpack the reasons behind your foggy brain, your kind of memory issues, and your overwhelm. So, if you want to learn more about that, I will link to that workshop in the show notes as well. And I just want to do a really brief note on skin because the skin is one of the first places that your body shows when there's something going on inside. Dry, itchy, dull skin can all be clues that your gut is maybe struggling a little bit, whether it's due to poor nutrient absorption or inflammation. And sometimes even more serious conditions like eczema or psoriasis are often linked back to a compromised gut lining. And sometimes making some nutritional changes can make a really big difference to a lot of issues, and autoimmune issues as well, like psoriasis, can be really impacted by what you're eating. When your gut is calm and happy, it sends feel-good signals to your brain that lowers your stress and helps your skin actually glow from inside out. Literally, we use it as nutritional therapists, we use it as a really vital sign of how your gut is doing. You don't need a 12-step skincare routine. You actually might need to start looking on the inside in your gut first. So, how do you know whether your digestive system is actually working well? If you're not sure how your gut's doing, there are these 5 questions that you can ask yourself. Number 1, is your digestion working properly? Do you have any symptoms like constipation, diarrhea, burping, flatulence? Do people comment on it? Sometimes I get clients who say, oh, yeah, my husband's always saying that I'm so burpy after meals. I didn't know it was unusual. I just assumed it was just normal. It's not. It's something to consider, to look at, and to maybe resolve. Do you have any specific diagnosed gut illnesses? IBS, IBD, all of those things can tell us that your gut is compromised. Now, that doesn't mean that's it for life and there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, there is. If your gut is compromised, let's work on it. Is your microbiota stable and diverse? Now, obviously, this isn't something that you can just kind of look at yourself and do. As nutritional therapists, we do stool tests and we kind of look in holistically at the whole gut and what is going on inside there when it comes to bacteria and so on. But the symptoms that you might be experiencing could be signs that that your gut is just not very diverse or not very stable or just doesn't have the right sorts of bacteria in there. Another question that we want to ask, if you do have these symptoms, could that be a sign that your gut barrier is a little bit compromised? Again, it's something that we test for as nutritional therapists. And then, do you have a good status of physical and mental well-being? So obviously, this is something that you can judge for yourself based on your stress levels, your sleep, how much you move, how energized you feel, how refreshed you feel in the morning, all of these things that, are good indicators of your well-being. Then, that is going to tell us how well your gut is actually doing, whether it's being helped by all those factors and also whether it is helping you to be able to be well physically and mentally as well. So we are actually going to deep dive into some of these things during this spring gut reset. Some of them are well beyond the scope of, just 1 week and certainly beyond the scope of kind of doing like a group program. But by the end of the week, by the end of the spring gut reset, you'll definitely have a really good sense of what does work for your gut and what doesn't. You'll also have a heightened awareness of how your gut affects all the other systems in your body because you will be keeping an eye on how the changes might be affecting you. And of course, you'll have an increased understanding of the small changes that you can make to improve the choices that you make when it comes to food every day that are going to help your gut feel a lot better. So many of the symptoms that mums experience, low energy, poor sleep, anxiety, irritability, constant colds, hormonal roller coasters, they're all there. They all tie back to your gut in some way. It's not the only piece of the puzzle. Of course, there's so many factors out there, societal especially, but it's definitely a big one. What's going on inside you is definitely a big one. And the thing is, the steps to support your gut are actually quite simple. I really, truly, wholeheartedly believe in gentle tweaks, not doing massive overhauls, not doing massive cleansers or, big restrictive diets. I don't think they work. They are overwhelming and they're not sustainable. But what I do believe in is making small changes incrementally that you will remember in a year's time. You will remember that I should add more of this thing and I should eat less of this thing. That's what's important to me. So that is exactly what I teach inside the Spring Gut Reset. The doors are open now for the early bird tickets, which are going to be available until Monday. And we start with a prep week where I guide you through easy steps to make a start on preparing your kitchen and yourself mentally to make sure that you are going to get the most out of the week, get the best you can out of the week. And by the end of the full reset, by the end of the week, I am sure that you will have a better understanding of how your gut works to manage your energy, give you better sleep, and just feel like you again, to rediscover the sense of you. Thank you so much for listening in today. I've really enjoyed talking to you about gut health. Again, I hope you're not getting bored. I have done quite a few episodes about it, but I can't wait to share everything I'm going to in the Spring Gut Reset, and I really hope you will join us there. I hope it's helped to connect some dots around how you might be feeling and maybe feel a bit more empowered to take a bit more control and put yourself first for once. Until next time, I will see you again in the next episode of Raising Healthy Mothers. Bye for now.